What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Going for Two. I am Q1 Humphreys, and today we're talking about the LA Clippers. Now, earlier this morning, the LA Clippers signed Chris Paul for what is going to be his final season in the NBA. Year 21, Chris Paul said, this is going to be it for me, and I want to spend my last year closer to home, closer to my family in LA. So we knew it was going to be between the Clippers and the Lakers and potentially the Phoenix Suns again for where Chris Paul would spend his last season. Now, the Clippers, to me, have had a very interesting offseason. The moves they've made, I like them, but the thing with the Clippers is I just do not know if I can trust them. I don't know if I can trust them. This is a team that traded for Paul George, signed Kawhi Leonard in the summer of 2019, and they have only one trip to the Western Conference Finals. They've only won what? Maybe 3 or 4 playoff series ever since that trade went down. They traded for James Harden, brought in James Harden. He didn't really, they only won, I don't think they won a playoff series at all with James Harden. Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, all kinds of stars have come and go over the course of, I'm going to say, the Kawhi Leonard era of the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's because they're just not a good team. They've been very, very unlucky with some injuries, namely 2021 when they made the Western Conference Finals. Paul George willed them to the conference finals after defeating the Utah Jazz in 6 games. Kawhi Leonard, they were down 0-2 in that series, tied it up 2-2. In Game 4, Kawhi Leonard ended up tearing his ACL and would miss the entirety of the rest of the playoffs and the entirety of the next season. That, to me, was their best shot to win the NBA championship. Besides the bubble, 2020, they blew a 3-1 lead their first year when everyone was healthy. But besides that, they've been just going back and forth. Kawhi Leonard, we know about him and his knees. He has very bad knees, and they have a tendency to swell up and become inflamed to where he may be playing one night and the next night he just cannot play. This past playoffs, they went 7 games with the Denver Nuggets, a series that I thought they should have won. Kawhi Leonard would look great. James Harden looked great. But ultimately in Game 7, they got blitzed in Game 7 and ultimately got sent home. So, after losing the first round, they made some moves. They traded away Norman Powell, brought in John Collins, and I think that move was made to kind of salvage Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, this is a guy that's been playing the power forward position for almost all of his time in LA. And for a guy that has lower leg, lower body issues with his knees, you don't want to put the strain of him having to defend bigger guys. Now, I know we play a smaller game in the NBA, but having to defend those bigger forwards, those power forwards, is not going to be a help towards his legs at all. So they go and get John Collins. They're going to play John Collins at the 4, Kawhi Leonard at the 3. They still got Zubac at the 5. Then they go out and sign Bradley Beal. I want to say they signed Bradley Beal sometime last week. And it's okay. Bring in Bradley Beal. You get rid of Norman Powell, bring in Bradley Beal. That makes sense. And then today signing Chris Paul. And all these moves, to me, is it kind of weird? Yes, because the Clippers are still very old. They may be bringing out the oldest starting lineup in the NBA next season. I'm not fully sure how confirmed that is. But the only guy under 30 starting for them is going to be John Collins. And he may be 29. This is a team that's battled with injuries from top to bottom, literally from top to bottom. But not looking at the age, looking at how good these guys are, how good these players are as individuals, this is a relatively deep team. Let's talk about it. You look at the guard rotation, they're going to have James Harden, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, Chris Dunn, and Bogdan Bogdanovic as their guards. Their forward rotation, they still got Kawhi Leonard. They still got Derrick Jones Jr. They still got Nicholas Batum. And they've added John Collins now. And at center, they go out and get a Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez and Zubac. That is going to... I love Brook Lopez as a backup center. Zubac made a real jump last season. Could have been an all-star. Could have been pushing all-NBA if he didn't make it. But he was really good last season. I expect him to make another jump this year as well. But having a solidified backup center and not having to bring Batum off the bench to play the 5 is going to be big for the team as well, especially with Brook Lopez, a guy that can protect the rim and a guy that can knock down threes from the outside. But the thing with the Clippers this year is going to be the thing with Clippers that has been since 2019. They got to stay healthy. They've got to stay healthy. I mean, from top to bottom, everyone on this roster has had some sort of injury issues. Kawhi Leonard, we know his story. Bradley Beal, ever since he got traded to the Phoenix Suns, has dealt with injuries. Zubac has had his share of injuries. Chris Paul, we know about Chris Paul being hurt, being in and out of the lineup. You know, I think if they can stay healthy, they can be a dark horse for the Western Conference. You know what I'm saying? But even when I say dark horse, I kind of wince when I say that because I think, okay, this team has let us down. Not us. I'm not a fan of the Clippers, but just relatively speaking, this team has let us down year in and year out. They have not won the big one. They've only made it Western Conference Finals one time. There was a tweet that I seen over the past 7, 8 years, maybe 10 years. The Clippers are the second most winningest team, and they're the only team out of the top 9 without an NBA championship, without an NBA Finals appearance. And I want to say, I want to be optimistic and say, okay, this is the year, but I just don't know. The Western Conference is so very deep. The Clippers could find themselves in the midst of that, in the fight with that. But it's all about health. You know? What does the lineup look for the Clippers? Me, I'm starting Harden. I'm going to have Chris Dunn in my 2. I'm going to run Kawhi, John Collins, and Zubac as my front court. Off the bench, I'm going to run Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, Derrick Jones Jr., Nicholas Batum, and Brook Lopez. You know, from there. So their top 10 looks pretty good. I'm going to be honest, their top 10 looks pretty good. But it's just that feeling in the back of your mind is like, okay, the Clippers, what goes wrong? What can go wrong with the Clippers usually goes wrong with them. It usually goes wrong. And and most of the time it happens in the health department. But I'm a guy that likes to look at the bright side of things. I believe that if Kawhi Leonard is healthy, he's one of the top 15, pushing top 10 players in the game. We saw last season in the playoffs, he put up one of the most efficient 39, 40-point games in the playoffs against the Denver Nuggets. That's who this guy is when he's healthy. And I know the note when he's healthy is such a big thing because he's never healthy. But I'm a guy that I want to see. I want to see Kawhi Leonard healthy throughout the playoffs. I want to see Kawhi Leonard. If you take out this team, I want Kawhi Leonard to be on the floor, playing his heart out, not on the bench of street clothes when this team gets put out of playoffs. Because Kawhi's one of those guys, he can take you there. I believe that he can take you there. He's not one of those guys he's not one of those forwards that's gonna score a bunch of points and just be basically a point forward. He's not one of those guys. He's one of those guys that's you put the ball in my hands, I'm gonna put the ball in the basket. And that's why it's great to have a Chris Paul and a James Harden that can be that facilitator for this team. Bradley Beal. I think this is Brad's last shot. I think this is his last shot at really being, first of all, on a contending team, also being a starter caliber player. You know? The Suns, they wanted to get rid of him so much that they bought out his big contract. And that's just not the best look for Bradley Beal. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully he comes out here with a fire under his butt, ready to go. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to seeing what the Clippers got. To be honest, I'm looking forward to see what the Clippers got. We got to see what happens. But until next time, going for 2. We out of here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button now. Help me out. We on the road to 1K. I know we only at 205, but we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I want to hit that before this time next year. But going for 2. Until next time, we out of here. Yeah.